Hello and welcome, everyone. Welcome to the, 6th episode of our Learn to Code series here on DevChatter. For anyone who doesn't know, and you're new here, this channel here is DevChatter, and my name is Brendan. As you can probably, it's like right here under me. And on this channel, we normally do project work together. We do some pair programming. We discuss different techniques for how to do things with code. Most of what we do here is in C# or JavaScript. We do a lot of web development as well. Shockers, hey, welcome. And we're just getting set up here, so I'm going to do a little bit of an intro because I do want people to be able to get set up to follow along. Because our Learn to Code series, which is a special series we do here on the channel, is specifically focused on beginners, so that makes this one a little bit different from our normal streams. So if you watch over there on the side, you'll see in the chat window I just asked our chatbot, and that's actually one of our regular projects here on the stream, is the chatbot that we develop. And I asked it to provide the instructions for what you need in order to get set up here on the project. So let's take a look at what those are. So the first thing that we recommend that you install in order to follow along, if you do want to follow along on these streams, is Visual Studio Code. Now, I know that's a big name. A lot of us call it VS Code or just Code or something like that. And this is a product from Microsoft. It is actually just a text editor. But that's actually what you use in order to program. So all you need to do is go here to this website, which is linked in chat. Hey, Stoolpenner, welcome. So if you go to code.visualstudio.com, you can go ahead and download it. So I'm here in Windows, so it gives me that option. But if you're running Mac, Linux, or Windows, any of those will work. And you can install and run the exact same tools that I am using here, and they'll run the same way. So it's really neat. And welcome Katrina as well. Okay, so once you get Visual Studio Code installed, you're going to have this program running. So this is Visual Studio Code. This is the text editor that we're going to use. The next thing that you need in order to follow along and code in C# with us is you need the .NET Core SDK. So if you go to this website, you want the first download here on the left-hand side. So this one right here, the .NET Core SDK. You're going to click on that, and it's going to download that. You'll go through an installer. Same thing that you're used to with any program that you install on whatever system you're on. The setup will be as normal. Now, it knows I'm on Windows and will give me that. And just to clarify what an SDK is, because I know some people don't know what an SDK is, because it's just 3 letters. I mean, an SDK is called a Software Development Kit. And basically what that is that means that this is all the knowledge of how to build C#. So your computer knows how to take the code you're going to write with us, turn that into computer code so that it can run. Along with the SDK is actually the runtime, so you won't need that. So if you just install the first one, you'll be able to build and run applications in .NET Core using C#. So that's what we're going to do today. So install those two, and you should be able to load up this screen. Once you're here, we have one final step we want that is going to make things a lot easier for you. We want you to click on this extensions icon right here on the left hand side. It's this one that looks like a little box. If you click on that, this will come up, and you want to click in the search box and type C#, which is easy to remember because that's the language we're learning. So once it comes up, you'll see one of the top results will just be C#. You'll know you picked the right one because it will say Microsoft on it. So you remember Microsoft is who makes C#, so you find their extension for this tool, and you will be all set. So install that. This for you would say install, mine says uninstall. And once it installs, this icon will change to be reload. You'll want to click that, and then you will be all set, and everything will be ready to work. Okay, so I'm going to click back up here onto the Explorer, and this is where we are going to work. So I'm going to give a bit of time now while some people get set up. That was the basic instructions for what it is, but the simple answer is you just follow these setup instructions, which I tossed back there in chat again for anyone who wants to follow along. Real quick, I'm going to show you how to confirm this. So toggle terminal here, you can see on the bottom of the screen, that when I hit that keyboard shortcut, brings either up or down this little terminal window here on the bottom. Now, terminal is just a nice way of saying that's our command line. That's like, think back in the old days of like DOS when computers were just text-based. That's our terminal. That's where we want to go. If you can't figure out where your backtick key is, maybe you're not on a US keyboard, ours is right with the tilde key. So I hit Control and backtick. If you can't find that key, the other way to get your terminal up is to go up to View, and then go down to Integrated Terminal, and click that, and that will bring it up as well. So either of those will get you your terminal, and then we want to confirm that we have everything installed. So what we're going to do is we're going to type in the word .NET, so D-O-T-N-E-T, and hit enter. If you did it right, you should see something like this. This confirms that .NET's really here. And this is actually telling me, hey Brendan, you didn't call this command right. And that's one secret I want to tell you about with the command line. I really want you to not be scared of it. A lot of the programs we use on the command line are very forgiving. I wouldn't recommend you do stuff that you don't know what to do with it, but if you follow our instructions, it should not be a scary thing. So the next thing that I want to type in is this. This is how you're going to confirm that you have everything set up right and are ready to run. Type in .NET again, but this time have --info on, so space --info like this. And that's basically telling it, hey, I want to get the info about what's installed. So if you see, this was actually telling me to do that. It said usage .NET options. One of the options it tells me about is info. And it'll tell me display the .NET information. So I can do this, and it'll come back and it'll spit back all this information. I should see some result from this. If I do, then I'm probably set up. Mine has a lot of information. I have tons of versions and stuff installed here. Yours won't have as many, but you should see something come back. And if you want to see specifically that you got the right version installed, you could say --list -SDKs. And it will list what SDKs you have installed. And you should have one here, because you just installed it. Okay, so once we got that, we're ready to get set up. Alright, so for people that already know a little bit about coding or software or anything like that, I'm going to let you all know what we're planning on working on today. Today, we're still going to start off simple enough that people can follow along, but our focus is going to be on classes, interfaces, types, and those sorts of things. So for any of the more experienced developers, that information, if that doesn't mean anything to you yet, don't worry, it will make sense a little bit more once we get into it. So, that should be enough time for people to have gotten some of those things set up and be able to follow along. As I mentioned, we are in our 6th episode of our Learn to Code in C# series. If you want to find out information about that, there's a link there, and that will take you to our episodes that you can get reminded of before we actually do them, so that you can follow along and see more of them. If you missed any of our previous episodes, you can actually find those both with that same link to the event, but you can also find those and all of our other videos on the Videos tab on Twitch. So that is what you're looking for. Okay. And if you already know how to code, anything like that, feel free to stick around and help out, answer questions in chat or anything like that as they come up, because I'm sure there will be some people that are here that don't know all the information that we're going to be covering today. Okay, so let's dive in. Okay, so what I want you to do to start with, once you've got Visual Studio Code open, is I want you to go up to File and then Open Folder. Now, once you do that, go ahead and make any folder name that you like. For these streams, I've just been naming them based on the date, but you're welcome to do whatever you want for naming them. So I made a 2018 811 folder, and I'm going to go ahead and tell it, yep, open that one. Now once it's open, you'll see this exhaustive list of information above my head here. This full list of all the files that are in that folder. I'm obviously joking, there are no files in this folder. What we do end up with, though, is a big old nothing. Well, I want to fix that. I actually want to have some files there. So we're going to go back to that .NET command that we typed in before. So .NET in this terminal window. And then I want you to type the word new. Now I'm going to expand this window up so you can see the results that I got a little bit better. So when I typed in .NET new right here, it came back and it said, hey, hang on, the usage for that, I need options. So it's saying, okay, please provide this command with some options to basically your choice. So I told it, hey, get me a new thing. And it's like, okay, what new thing did you want? Because I didn't tell it. So what it wants to know is what I want it to build. And the answer to that question is I want it to give me a console application. So this one right here. Now console application, for anyone who doesn't know, is that's going to be one that is text-based and is running in that terminal. So it says the short name for that is console. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to say .NET new console. And when I do this, it is actually going to make a basic set of files for running this program. Notice above my head there are a couple of things in that box now. It created, and I'm going to shrink this down so it's out of the way, program.cs right here. This is the main code of our program. You all, if you've been to an episode before, you've seen this before. And then it also has this. And I'm going to go ahead and click yes down here on this window, which actually I have slightly covered here so you can't quite see it. It's basically saying that there are some items that Visual Studio Code could use to make it better at debugging them. And I'm going to go ahead and say yes and let it create them. So it made this little VS Code folder here. Okay. So the basic files that we have are the program. This is where we're going to do most of our work for now. And then the other one is this CSproj file. This is just a special file that tells it how we do things here. So don't worry too much about that one for now. But I want you to come down here into the command window again and say .NET build. And when we do this, that builds the code. We're not going to need to type that in every time, but I want to show it to you because that's how we make sure the code runs. So this takes what we see here on the screen and translates that into language that the computer understands. So this is, surprisingly, this stuff is actually what we understand. This is for human readability right here, which is fun to tell new programmers that, like, yeah, those symbols and everything that you're seeing that where you typing in there, yeah, that's the human readable version. I'm not going to show you what the computer readable version is on this stream. I show it on my regular episodes, but not on a Learn to Code one, I should say. Okay, so we want to run this code. So obviously we can build to build it, but we can run to run it. So we type .NET space run, and this will run our code. And all it does is it says hello world. That's it. So this is the starting point that we've had in a bunch of our episodes. This is like if you can get to this point, your code works. So now that we're here, let's go ahead and do something more with it. So we've mentioned before that we're inside of class program and there's a static main. And this is the entry point for all of our programs. And the code in here executes in order, one step after the previous. So console, right line, hello world. If I duplicate this line, so select the whole line, copy it, paste it, save the file, and run it again, obviously it's just going to say hello world twice. I could also say hello world 1 and hello world 2 just to confirm that, but that's basically how all of this works. So you'll see it's printing out the code. So you can now start changing this file. Start doing whatever you want with it. And actually, I recommend while you're watching the stream, if you don't have something that you're trying to replicate that I've done, go ahead and just make changes and try stuff. So you will learn a lot of things by just experimenting. Okay, John, that is a fantastic question. Why don't I have to recompile again after a change? And the short answer is, when I run .NET Run, the compiler actually goes and recompiles. So every time I do .NET Run, it checks to see, hey, do I need to compile? And if it does, it compiles them first. So every time I do that, it just does a quick check to say, hey, do I need to compile that? Okay, no. And it goes ahead. So that's actually why it's not requiring that I do .NET Build between each one, is because it does it anyway. Okay, so I mentioned that this stream was going to be about classes, interfaces, and types in C#. So we have seen something called a method before. We did this in some of our previous episodes. But obviously if you didn't attend those, that's fine. You don't have to have. We're going to make sure that we still explain things. So what I can do is I can put that over there, and I can type in greet. So basically what I did here, I did it a little fast, so just replicate this, and I'll explain basically what's happening. So I call my greet method by just saying greet, and then open and close parentheses, and then my semicolon ends every line in C#. So pretty much every line of code that I write is going to end with a semicolon. There are some rules for that, but I'm not going to get into all those. If you leave one out and try to run things, here's what's going to happen. It's going to come back and it's going to say, hey, the build failed, and it says, oh, error, semicolon expected, and it tells me the line. So I can actually just control-click on this link here as it tells me to do, and, oh, actually that took me to the wrong place. I meant to do something else. I meant to go here. It took me to the project, which is not what I wanted. It says program 920, so program, line 9, column 20, which is right here, so if we counted this, so right about here ought to be number 20, so it says on column 20 it wants a semicolon. So I can add that back in as it's supposed to and run it. And that's one of the nice things, is if you forget a semicolon or something like that, you make some other error, it's going to tell you about it. So read those messages. They actually are clearer than you think they are. At first it's kind of scary because there's a whole bunch of text out, but if you just read through it, something will make sense. So it said semicolon expected. It's like, oh, okay, I got that. I missed a semicolon. Okay, so when I run it, you'll notice it's still printed out Hello World 1 and Hello World 2, so it was able to call these. If I call greet twice, so I duplicate that line, and I run it again, you'll see that it's going to say Hello World 1, Hello World 2, Hello World 1, Hello World 2. So what it did is this. When we called this the first time, it came in here, ran these two lines. Then we come back out here, we execute this next line, and it calls these. So our methods are basically ways of like storing up a set of logic that we're going to want to call multiple times. So we're going to want to do that multiple times. So that's a method. Now, some of you may have noticed console.writeLine also has those parentheses. Is it also a method? Yes, it is. And in fact, it's actually also a static method. So we could have done this. Let me show you what this would look like if we did this. I could have written program.greet instead of just greet, and this will do the same thing. Now the reason is that greet is inside of the scope of my class program. See that with these curly braces, how they fully encase both the main method and the greet method? That is because they are actually part of this larger thing called my class program. So I can make plenty of classes in my code. I could, for example, do this. Public class person, and I could give this person a string name, and what I can do is this. I can say var Brendan equals new person, and I can say name. Actually, I'm going to do it this way so it's a little easier to understand. Brendan.name equals. So there's my name. So I have now created an object. So if you've heard the term object-oriented programming, that is actually the style of programming that C# is. So we have created Brendan as this object, and I can now pass it into my greet method. So I told you that was a method. This is an object. I can actually pass this as a parameter. So notice that our writeLine method sent in this string. So we've talked about strings. A string is some text that's surrounded by quotes, and it's stored as a sequence of characters in our code. So that's actually how that works. So that is stored in our program somewhere. When it runs, it can print out that message, and that's how it works. Now I said I wanted to do this. I want to pass Brendan to my greet method. Well, it gave me this red squiggly. And the reason why is because the greet method does not yet accept any parameters. So I need to tell it, hey, you're going to receive a person object. So in order to do that, I come down here, and this is where we have declared our method. And I want to say greet person person. Now, programming languages, as you've probably noticed if you've been following along at all, are very case sensitive for the most part. So that's why I can have person and person, and this one is a type, and this one is a variable. So if I were to do this, for example, I could say var person equals new person. And that's totally valid. What I can't do is, I should say what I don't want to do is this, because it'll get confusing. Now if I tried to change the type over here from capital P person to lowercase p person, you'll notice I get a red squiggly. That's because this is not the name of the type. I named it with a capital P. So that means anywhere I create one of those, I have to use capital P person. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, you'll see down here I said greet person person. Now, I've talked about declaring variables. So if you want to store information to use later, you store it in what's called a variable. A variable comes with a couple of things. It comes with a type, it comes with a name, and then you can put a value in it. So we've seen this before with like string name equals Brendan. So we've declared variables like this. This is the type, this is the name, this is the initial value. And that's totally fine. Now that's totally fine to do. You could also say int, which is short for integer, which means this is going to be a number. And you could say like, int favorite number equals, I don't know, some number, right? And then that is again type, variable name, initial value. And I can change these values. I could say name equals, Fred, right? And then that changes the value that's stored inside the name variable. So I have a lot of control over these things, and we've talked about these variables, but we haven't really discussed the type yet. So let's make our code do something really quickly. So we've passed in this parameter of this person, and I want to do something fun. So we're going to change our greet method here from saying hello world to hello person.name. So the couple of things I've changed here. I added a $sign before our quote, before this string here, because this tells it, hey, I want to insert variables. So we've, in a previous episode, we've seen string interpolation. This says, hey, I'm going to insert in a variable. It's going to be inside these curly braces, and this is the value that I want to put in there. So when we do that, it goes and it grabs the person object, grabs the name value from it, and puts that in the string. So check out what happens when I run this now. It goes and it runs and it says, "Hello, Brendan." So it can greet me now, just knowing that I am the person that it wants to greet. So these objects that we create, these classes, give us the ability to store all kinds of information. So I could do int favorite number as I suggested, right? And when I do that, I could come up here and I could say Brendan.favorite number equals, and we just spammed something in there, right? So there's my new favorite number. If we write out a new thing, we could say something like, "I hear that you like Brendan.favorite number." Okay. Whoops, not Brendan.person. Okay. So we talked a little bit about scope. I'm going to explain that again in a second, just because of what we just did there. Now when I run this, see I said create this new string that has this message, but then again insert the favorite number in here. So I did the same thing twice, and again, if you are following along, feel free to do what I just did, change the values, do something different, experiment. You're welcome to try all the cool stuff that you like. We're just trying to give you something to follow along with in what I'm doing, but feel free to make any other changes you want as we go along. That's the great way to experiment and learn new things. Draco, when you make variables, you don't use new. You've only used it when trying random class, but you don't understand what it means. Okay, so Draco, you trying the random class, but I don't understand. Oh, okay. So this new here is a fancy thing. So new is a special and powerful word inside of this programming language. It is a very strong action to take, which interestingly is why for some of the more advanced stuff, I actually try and teach people not to use this, but you guys go ahead and use it for now. You're just learning this. We don't want to cover the complicated stuff to begin with. So what it does, new is basically, think of it like telling CSharp, "Hey, I know that your program is running in the memory of this computer. Go create some space for that and get me and tell me where you have it stored." So without getting too deep into exactly what's happening, it's basically saying, "Hey, go make this thing." So the word new says, "Hey, go make a new object." And what you're going to do is you're actually going to call a special method on that object called a constructor. Now, I'm not going to get too deep into what that is, but a constructor is a special type of method that you can write if you want, and it deals with how you create the variable. Don't variables do the same thing? They ask for space in memory. Draco, yeah, so new creates a variable. So this is how we create a new variable of type person. So, sorry, we could write it like this also, I should mention. So remember, type, variable name, and then initial value. And the initial value here, calling new is just telling the system, "Hey, create a new one of these for me." So allocate memory for it, store that there, and then, put it in this variable. So that's essentially how it works. So this code runs. Works just fine. Cool. So that's sort of what a class is, and it lets us create an object that works, that can store information or do stuff for us. So it's kind of neat. You can store data or you can store behavior on that. Chris, Chris does. What's the difference between using var and the class's name for creating an object variable? That is a fantastic question, Chris. I just kind of showed you this. I originally wrote this as var Brendan equals new person. So when I use var here, I could use var like this as well. I could say var name equals something, right? And that will also create a new variable. But instead of var, I could have written string, and instead of var here, I could write person. Now, the difference here, just to clarify, Chris, is actually there isn't one. So that's the neat part. The difference is actually on our end. So we are the ones who notice that change. So the programmer, the developer, you, I, the rest of our team, we're the ones that see that difference. When we say var here, what happens is when we type in .NET build down here, sorry, Draco, if you look down below the Twitch stream, you can find information about the music that's playing. What happens is this. Don't worry about that warning there, but what it did was CSharp looked at this variable declaration here on line 9. It said, hey, Brendan's creating this variable named Brendan. I know that it is of type person, so let me go ahead and fix this for him. And it, behind the scenes, replaced var with person. So it changed to this without my knowing. So essentially the idea is that it works exactly the same as far as we're concerned. So it comes down to a preference of what you like seeing there. So I like seeing var here when the type is on the class. So I don't need the word person written twice here because I called the constructor. But if you want to see it, cool. And hi Greendorf, welcome. Actually, Chris, it takes such a tiny amount of time because the type was already there. So it already had it in that type regardless because it needed it here. So because of the way things, I don't want to get into the details of actually how the compiler works, but it actually doesn't even slow it down to do that. That's the impressive part. Okay, so we've got this here. This code works just fine. I want to change it. So we created person object. That's not the example, that's not the demo that I'm planning on doing today, so we're going to change it. And yes, Greendorf is correct. Any time that it would take would be at build time, not at run time. Yeah. CSharp actually compiles very, very fast now with Roslyn. It's very short, but yeah. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We created the person type. I don't want to go with the person type. I want to do something else, so follow with me for a second. We're going to create some new things. If you don't know what they mean, don't worry about it just yet. Just go ahead and make these changes and I will explain it. I want you to create a new thing here. So instead of person, we're going to just get rid of this for now. Which means we can't use it up here anymore. We can't use that, we can't use that, and we need to remove it from here. So let's drop back down to our initial code where all we say is hello world out of this spot. I wanted to cover the basics of types first. So get yourself back down to this code and we're going to continue on. So let me just make sure that builds. It does. And I'm going to run it. And it says hello world. Perfect. We're back to a starting point. Now I want us to do something else here, so go to this end curly brace of the class, and when you have your cursor just after it, notice that it's highlighting both the beginning and the end one of those curly braces, so that'll help you find the right spot. Make sure you're paying attention to those. Our editor actually for this is very helpful. So the text editors that we programmers use often try to make coding easier. So here's what we want to do. Get yourself on a new line and go ahead and type public interface, and then I want to say, so notice I chose the second option, the one that said C#, and I hit tab, and then it says public interface, I name, and then curly curly. Now it has name highlighted already, so I can actually just start typing the new piece here. And I want to say, I pet. Yeah, that's what we'll go with. Then I'll hit tab, and then that'll complete me out of that. Yeah, so sort of, Janiscu, we are going to do a sort of thing kind of like a greeter. And what I want to do now is I want to say string, and I want to say get name. Because I haven't talked to you yet about interfaces, and this is a special concept in C#. We just talked about classes, we're going to talk about interfaces, and I want to cover this one because even people that work in C# for a long time don't always have a good grasp of how interfaces work. They're a very powerful feature that are not in every language, but they are in C#, so I want to talk about them. So I have, whoops, don't undo that, Brendan. We're showing people this. Now I want to create public class cat. Now, and the cat's not even here, so we don't even get a cat stream today. I'm sorry, guys. And I want to say, so I've got public class cat. Now, cat obviously could be a pet. I haven't told C# that it is one yet, but again, I've made a new type called pet, and I've made a new type called cat. Now, I just referred to both the interface and the class as types, and they are in C#. So remember, I told you that when we created a variable like string name equals, you know, something, right? I said that string was the type. And when I said, you know, person, you know, Brendan equals new person, right? I said that person was the type. Now obviously it's red squiggling because I deleted our person type, but that's a type. So a type is what when we create a variable, we create a variable of that type. So these are the objects. And an interface and a class are how we define the objects and what properties it has, what methods it has. We describe it. So I can now create a cat. So I could say cat my cat equals new cat. And that code is totally valid. Now I haven't done anything with it, but I've got a cat object. Sharkdeed, yeah, that is actually correct, and it's one of the sad things, is that there's a feature actually in this text editor that we're using here that in the free edition of the professional developer tool, which is very similar to this, by the way, and that feature is made available here to us, but not in the professional tool, the free version of that. So a lot of people are annoyed by that, as Sharkdeed apparently is. Okay, so just to confirm that it runs, I've saved everything. I'm going to run it again, and it runs just fine. So my cat works. I didn't do anything with it, but I did create it. Okay, next thing I want to do is this. I want to give cat a name. So I could just create a getName method, but I don't want to. I want to write IPet right there. Now when I do this, I put in a colon here, so that's a regular colon, not a semicolon, and then I type in the name of the interface. Now this is a special thing that I'm doing here. It's really interesting. You joke the stream is going well, SNB. Yeah, the stream is going well so far. So what we end up with is you know, I don't actually know how to pronounce your name. I've seen it a whole bunch of times, so welcome back. Is it Tazarnal? I don't want to totally mess that up, but welcome back. And yes, so VS Code is a lightweight editor, but a very powerful one. What is the difference between VS Code and Visual Studio Normal? Yeah, exactly. This is just a text editor. This is not a full IDE, Loki. Okay, so I put this in here, and it read squiggly, and what it says is cat does not implement the interface member IPet.getName. Okay, Oh, Zar. Okay, Zarnal. Got it. Yep, Zarnal. So what it's saying is, okay, I need to type in public string getName. So I need to declare this method. It wants this to exist. So I can make that method, and notice IPet is no longer underlined in red. So it now says, oh, hey, you implemented it. Good job. But I haven't fully yet, because I still have a red squiggly here, and this red squiggly is saying not all code paths return a value. And what that means is when we've had our methods, you'll remember that sometimes our methods would return something. If they return something, it's whatever this value is. So this is a string. So it says I have to return a string. So I'm going to return back the string kitty for now. So our cat's name apparently is Kitty. Don't worry about that. And then all of a sudden everything is fine again. And when I build and run it, it all works. Now, I'm not doing anything with that type yet, but I've basically said, hey, make sure that my cat matches the interface IPet. So that's a special relationship. We call this implementing an interface. And I'll explain a little bit about what that means, but let's go ahead and use this code first. So I'm going to pass in the cat to my greet method, and I'm going to say cat, cat, and then we're going to say, instead of calling it greet, we're going to say display pet name. So that's our new method name, so I'm going to change it there. So display pet name, and we're going to say the pet's name is cat.name, cat.getName, right? We made a method getName, we're gonna do that. So the pet's name is cat.getName, and we'll run this now. And what does it come back with? It came back with the pet's name is Kitty. So perfect, that did exactly what we wanted it to do. Hooray. Okay, so why did I make the interface? Well, let's do this. I am going to copy this whole cat class, and I'm going to change cat to dog. And in my getName method down here for dog, I'm going to call it Mr. Barkers. So my dog's name is now Mr. Barkers. And what I'm going to do is I am going to say dog, my dog equals new dog. Yeah, you like that, Green Dolph? Mr. Barkers. Oh yeah. So, and actually let me move this down one line. So we're going to say my cat display pet name, and then I'm going to say my dog, and I'm going to say display pet name and pass in my dog. Okay, so I'm doing the same thing now. I want to do a display for that. So the easy way to do this is I can take this, copy that method, and I could say this one takes in a dog, 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 right? And so now when I run this code, so I save the file, and I'm going to go ahead and run it again. Remember, always save your file before you run it, otherwise you won't see your change. And it says the pet's name is Kitty, the pet's name is Mr. Barkers. So that works. Cool. If you're following along, don't do this step, because I'm going to show you something different. We're not going to leave it like this. I still haven't told you why I created this IPet interface. So cat and dog, I've said, are both implementing the IPet interface. So what's weird about this is this. I told you before that there was no difference between saying var my cat equals cat and var my dog equals dog versus saying cat or dog on those, right? I mentioned just a little bit ago that that is exactly the same thing, and the compiler which the compiler, by the way, is what converts this human-readable code, yes, this is the human-readable code, into the computer-readable code. Now, when it does that, this is what it puts in there, even if I wrote the word var. So even with these, it's actually changing both of those. So I just changed these to vars right here. Whoops, don't do that. Don't do what I just did. But those vars there, it's going to change them, whoops, to cat and dog without me having to do anything. Now I'm going to make a slight change. I want that to be an IPet. So notice I got a red squiggly here and I got a red squiggly here, but I didn't get one on the line that I created these variables. So I could create the cat and store it as an IPet. And I could create the dog and store that as an IPet as well. And both of those are totally valid. So it's kind of cool how that works. But down here, it's saying I can't pass them in. But that's a cat and that's a dog. Right? Well, no, not exactly. Now, this is the cool thing that I want to get across. When we mouse over this, it says cannot convert from IPet to cat. So that's weird. Essentially, what I did was I said create a new cat, but store it as a pet. So that means this object is not considered to be a cat. It's considered to be a pet, which is slightly different. So let me show you why. Well, actually, let me show you it working, and then I'll show you why. So let's change this code. So I'm going to take pet. I'm going to change that to a pet. I'm going to change this name from cat to pet. I'm going to change it there from cat to pet. And now this code says IPet pet. The pet's name is pet.getName. And I can get rid of this dog method entirely. So I now have a method that instead of taking in a dog or a cat, takes in an IPet, which is kind of neat. Verizian, we're doing one of our Learn to Code series, so we are discussing how C# works and teaching it at a beginner level. So if you are interested in learning about classes, types, and interfaces in C#, then you are welcome to stick around today. And thank you for the Twitch Prime subscription, Nate. So you're requiring this. So Katrina, so you're requiring this cat to have a name, but only if defined as cat. Oh yes, exactly, Katrina. So I will put in some of those differences. So I can display a pet name based on IPet, and the reason for that is that a cat is a pet and a dog is a pet. So they both are this. And remember, when I didn't have these methods, it forced me. It told me, hey, you have to have a string get name. And so it forced me to do this. So that is actually how it gets that set up. So boom, that makes that work. So I can run this code and it calls out, hey, it calls out those names using IPet. So that's kind of neat. So I'm able to use these variables with a different type. Okay, let's take a look at the next piece, because exactly what Katrina mentioned is what we want to show. So let's see. Our cat might have something special about it. For example, whoops, helps if you type correctly, Brendan. We might have litter box location, right? And so with my cat, I might say my cat dot litter box location equals basement, right? And so I store the litter box location of my cat in the basement. So, welcome. Thanks for following. Thanks for subscribing, everybody. Really appreciate it. I know that a bunch of people have. No, Uraker, I haven't talked specifically about events and delegates yet on this stream. If you attend one of our regular ones, that's the kind of stuff we'll talk about on one of those. So we're just in our beginner streams right now. When would you use an interface over a base class? That is a great question, user. So this is actually where I show that I don't want to use it. This is precisely where we show that. So right here on line 10, notice it says, it's red underlining this property, but cat is right here. It has this property. Well, remember, I just pointed out that even though my object is a cat, we've stored it as a pet. So that means that I can't use that. I have to use this here. So the short answer to your question, user, which I'm guessing it's user 2, is whenever you know the explicit type of an object, use that. So I know the concrete type of my object is cat. So I should use a cat here on line 9. And down here, I know that that's a dog, so I should use dog. Now down here, in this method, notice that I'm taking in pet. Now the reason I'm taking in the interface pet instead of dog is that this is defining for someone else. So when I write this method, I've essentially told someone else, hey, in order to run, all you need to give me, the minimum requirement that I need is a pet. I don't need it to be a dog. I don't need it to be a cat. I don't need it to be a goldfish. I don't, there's no choice that I need other than just that it's a pet. And so that's the idea here, is when I'm asking you to give me something, so this method is asking you to pass it the parameter it needs. It's essentially saying, hey, this is the bare minimum I need to work. So just get me that and I'll be okay. And that is the idea here, user, is that you want to ask for the minimum, but then when you give someone something, give them the maximum. So ask for as little as possible and give back as much as you can. That's the general rule. So you might set up a pet for your user till they decide to get a cat, dog, or dino. Not exactly, Katrina. So the pet I create is one of those types every time, so I might as well keep it like that. But some things only need this. So let me show you all another example. So we're going to continue on. We're going to make this a little more interesting. I'm going to make a new interface. This new interface is going to be iWalkable. And what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to say void go for walk. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to put walkable on the dog. So I already said that the dog is a pet, but I can actually add another one, and I can say not only is a dog a pet, but a dog is also walkable. So I can actually make a list of other types that dog can qualify as. So the idea here is these interfaces, you can think of them either as a way of interacting with something or as almost like a qualification that they achieve. So the dog is walkable. So let's go ahead and we're going to create what it was missing here. So I created a public void go for walk method. And when I do this, just for the sake of the code here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say console.writeLine. Whoops. And then I want to say woof woof. We're going on a walk. Yay. So there's our dog going on a walk. He says woof woof. We're going on a walk. Yay. So that's what's going to happen if we call the go for walk method on the dog. So if I go up here and I run my let me make sure you guys can see that code for a second so I don't go away from it. This is all we did here. We said our dog has these, so colon type, and then we put in these methods here and they should match those, and it works pretty well. When I run this code, I'm just gonna, it doesn't call that yet, but it should run just fine, which it does. Now I want to go up and I want to call our go for walk method. So what I'm gonna do is this. I'm gonna say my dog dot go for walk. And when I do that, I can come down here and I can run this code now, and it says, you know, woof woof, we're going on a walk, yay. Which I can do this because my dog is a dog, right? And that's fine. However, and this goes to user's question. User asked, when do we want to use an interface over a base class? And I said, if you know the type, you have the type, you know what it is without doubt, and you just have the object there, then use the actual type. And here's why. If I did an IPet, all of a sudden I can't call go for walk. Okay, well maybe then I say iWalkable. Well, once I do iWalkable, well now I can't check its name, because iWalkable was that and IPet has the name. So IPet has the name, iWalkable knows how to go for walk, but the full dog knows how to do both. So that's why I want to have the dog here. Okay, obviously, now I don't need to do it this way, but I'm going to show you this just so it makes the point. So that's a dog I've got up there, and I am going to copy my display pet name method, but this one I'm going to say take pet for walk. Well, actually I'm going to say take for walk, right? And instead of taking in an IPet, I'm going to take in an iWalkable. And you'll see why I'm doing this in a moment. So instead of that, we're going to say go for walk. So I can take my dog. No, Greendorf, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. No. We're not going to talk about that on this stream. That's a little too advanced for that. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to say take for walk my dog. So I want to take my dog for a walk. And in this take for walk method, it has a parameter as well. It says I need an iWalkable, and the dog is an iWalkable, so I can pass it in. So when I run this, we should get the same result. There it is. The pet's name is Kitty, the pet's name is Mr. Barkers, woof woof, we're going on a walk, yay. So that worked really well. Okay, what else is walkable? Hang on. Glass. Baby is iWalkable. Yes, I'm not kidding. You can actually take a baby for a walk in a stroller. So we're gonna say console.writeLine goo ga ga I'm in a stroller. So we're gonna go ahead and put that there. Now this one doesn't get the pet tag. This one is walkable. And I'm going to show you the walkable interface again, because Katrina's asking to see it. So iWalkable has go for walk, and IPet has get name. And those are all that are on those interfaces. Now, when I'm showing you these interfaces, this is something huge even for the more advanced developers that are here. These interfaces I've made are small. They're focused. They're about one thing. This makes interfaces really good and really usable. So, I could do this. I could say, baby, my baby equals new baby, and create that. And then what I can do is this. I can say take for walk, and I can pass in the baby. So now I can do this. And it says the pet's name is Kitty, the pet's name is Mr. Barker, woof woof, we're going on a walk, yay, and then goo goo gaga, I'm in a stroller. So I think it's pretty good. So that works out pretty nicely. So the cool thing is that you know, I can treat those very different things the same sometimes, and that's what an interface lets us do. Is it shows us it's basically like an interface. So one of the ways I like to describe it is this is how you interact with it. So I want to ask everyone a question. Who here has driven a car? Any kind of car? I've driven a car. For example, like, I mean, I've driven American cars. I've driven European cars. I've driven Japanese cars. I've driven cars from a lot of places. Yes, S&B, I'm going to change to that. I'm actually going to show you something cool in a second. S&B, don't worry. So the idea when I drive a car is that all cars have the same basic interfaces. So they have steering wheels, they have gas pedals and brakes, and those things are things I'm used to. And Brutal Swede got the exact point I was going to make. Some drivers know how to drive a stick shift, a manual transmission, whatever you want to call it. And those drivers know how to use that interface. So they accept either an automatic interface or a manual interface, and either one works for them. And they can drive those cars. So if you think of those as an interface, any given car that you come across, you can drive, as long as you know how to use the interface. So, like this method, it says, hey, I can take anything for a walk as long as it has the iWalkable interface. So I don't have to, like, you know, if I sit down in a Mazda, for example, I don't have to be like, well, I've never driven a Mazda before. Let me read the manual. Does their steering wheel work the same way? It's like, no, you don't. It matches the same car interface as everything else. You can already drive it. So that's the concept there. Yetzoterio, I will be talking about that in a couple of weeks on a stream. I talk about it on a regular basis, but that's a little advanced for discussing here. So the explanation of what that is. So we're trying to be at a little bit lower beginner level than what our normal streams are. So Yetzoterio, if you do want to show up for one of our more advanced streams, since that's a pretty high level question, we stream Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, as you can find on here in our schedule command. And what do I want to say? I don't know where Yetzoterio's from, but for example, I could say like, I can ask my schedule command. It'll print out our schedule for the stream here. So if you show up to one of our regular ones, we absolutely will talk about that concept. And yeah, you could hit the follow button too. I hopefully that explanation made sense there, Katrina. So as I mentioned to everybody, this is a difficult concept. So if you're still having trouble wrapping your head around it, don't feel bad. Plenty of programmers that have been programming for many years still have difficulty understanding how interfaces and classes and things like that work. So it's a difficult topic. So don't feel bad if it doesn't make sense yet. SNB brought up something interesting. SNB said, hey, wait a minute. IPet should really be inameable because it has a name, right? Because it's about names. It's not about being a pet. And he's right. So what I'm going to do is this. So pets had names, but other things have names too. So I'm going to make a new interface, and I'm going to say inameable. And this one is going to get name as well. So I've made an entirely new type here. It's called inameable, and it has getName on it. If I take this interface and I apply this to pets, right, and I say pets are nameable, it's okay with that. There's no red squiggly, it's not yelling at me, because pets already have their getName defined, and they picked it up from here. So it's okay with that. It says, yeah, all right, yep, you already meet the interface, you're good. No work to be done. When I add this down here to the dog, it does the same thing, and it says, hey, you've already got that. No red squigglies, you're cool. You've got everything I require. And it does that as well. So when I come down here to the baby class and I add it, Notice this one gives the red squiggly, and it says, hey, well, you need to have this. So if I mouse over it, it says baby does not implement getName. Okay, I need to make getName. So I'm going to say public string getName, and I am going to return Elliot. So there we go. So baby now has a name. And now instead of this, we could just say, we'll say hello, and then we'll say nameable getName. Nameable. Oh, that's how we said nameable? Okay. Nameable. I don't know if I spelled that right, but that's fine. So we're now going to say hello nameable. So when I run this, it should still work just fine, and it does. It prints out the same things it did before, except now that we changed it to this, I could change from display pet name to greet using name. So greet using name, so we're going to say hello so-and-so. Change the method calls up here as well. And we can come down to this one, and we can greet the baby, and we can say hello. So I've added a new line of code down there, so we should get one more message printed to the screen. Hello kitty, hello Mr. Barkers, woof woof, we're going on a walk, yay. Hello Elliot, goo goo gaga, I'm in a stroller. So, awesome. So we can now use these objects in a variety of different ways based on properties about them. So this is a really cool concept here. Hot Pocket. The reason I'm not using Visual Studio 2017 is this is a more beginner level thing, and Visual Studio Code is a lot easier to install and more approachable for the beginners. I have VS 2017 running behind the scenes back there. Nothing to worry about. I use it on our regular streams. So since you asked that question, I am betting you would probably want to go to our regular streams. So I would recommend you hit the follow button and catch one of those as well. Although you're welcome to stick around here also. Not that I know where you live, but you can actually check the schedule right there. And yes, as Janiscu says, VS Code works on a Mac, it works on Linux, it works on Windows. Wherever you want to run VS Code, you are able to do so. I don't know if VS Code will run on a wristwatch, but you're welcome to try. Okay. Wonk. Just gotta fix that. Okay, so that code works. Now you might be asking, what's the IPet interface for? Where is it referenced? Right there and right there, and that's it. Okay. So I don't use it anymore, really. So I'm going to get rid of the pet interface entirely right now. I could just get rid of it. It's gone. It doesn't do anything. But I don't think I will, because we still have pets. So cat and dog are still pets, right? But I can remove its name property, and when I run it, everything runs just fine. So my interface for pet doesn't have anything on it right now. I could do something different with this now. I could say get owner name. Well, pets are the only ones that have an owner name. So that would be a difference, and I could put that on them. But I'm not planning on doing anything with pet right now, so there's not really much need. But I kind of want to show that that's how you can do it. And the neat thing is that now, once I've done that, it's now complaining that I need to add that new property. The cool thing was that my getName methods were applying to both iNameable and IPet, so I thought that was really cool. Okay, so those are the properties that we had. Notice, because I do want to point this out, because it's a big thing, what we were doing here, so this was a method and this was a method. You can always tell methods, you can spot them easily because they have parentheses on them like this. So get name and go for a walk, those are methods. You might have heard the term function, and I'm not going to really get into the difference between those two, but these are methods on our class. So these are functionality. I can also add other bits of information to them. I could, for example, say that a baby has a date, time, birth date. Whoops. I could say that a baby has a height in inches, as well as a int height in centimeters. Right, and either one of those would work pretty well. And I can use both, I can use either, and those add data to my object. So I could create a baby with those. I'm going to get rid of this value on the pet because I don't want to deal with that right now. But I could come down here and I could say my baby dot birth date equals new date time. So remember I said that variables, when you create them, you use new, and then you can pass in the initial values, things like that. So sometimes when you're creating a new thing and you say new like this, it'll pop this up here, this little window that's called IntelliSense, and I can actually scroll through all the different ways that I could make new objects. So I'm just hitting the down and up arrow, and it gives me all these options. Now what I want here is this one, and it says year, month, day. So, hey, sweet! I win again. Thanks, Janiscu, for pointing out to everybody that the game is not rigged. So we're going to go ahead and say, let's see, what year? I was born in 1902. August 10th. So there we go. So 1902 August 10th. So my baby's a little old. You know, a little over 100 at this point. Just barely. And I can set that value on him. I could then do console.writeLine. My baby.birthdate to short date string. Now that's a fancy thing that I'm going to explain in a moment, but let me go ahead and run this. The last thing on here, it prints out a date. So what I want to show is this. These objects that we're creating, these types, the dog, the cat, the baby, they all have different things about them. Some of them might have you know, so he's got a birth date. The cat and the dog might have a birth date also. They have names. They have various different things about them, and we can define all this stuff about our classes. And that's one of the interesting things about this, is we can now use these however we want. So we could decide to create new stuff. So I can do some fancy things as well. I want to commit this change real quickly here. So just ignore what I'm doing for a moment. You won't be doing the same thing, so don't bother with what I just did. But what I can do is I can do something slightly more advanced. So in the past, we have talked about how you can ask the user for stuff. So I want to say console.writeLine. Please choose what to record. So I'm going to say please choose what to record, and I want to say console.writeLine, and I'm not going to do this perfectly, so a lot of people are going to realize that the code that I'm writing is not ideal, but I just want to give you a quick example. I want to say one cat, duplicate those lines. I'm going to say 2 dog, and 3 baby. And I'm going to say console.readline. And we've talked about this before. So when you do a read line, it pulls in the value that is typed by the user. So I'm going to say selection equals we're actually just going to do a parse. We're not going to worry about safety and making sure that everything works right. And we're just going to run this because this isn't part of the example. I just want to show you this so you can see how it works. So then I'm going to say console.writeLine. And we're going to say you chose. Make sure you have the $sign at the beginning of the string. Selection. And now I'm going to take these here, and I'm actually going to delete everything we did down there. So all we're going to do is just print out this. Now, remember, I still have in here, my interfaces and my classes. So I still have all that code down there, whole bunch of code. When I go ahead and run this, that code isn't being used because I haven't created those types, I haven't created those objects. It's there, but I'm not calling it. So it prints out this message here that we told it to. It says, please choose what to record. Cat, dog, baby. And, whoops, helps if you click down here. And I'm going to say 3. You chose 3. Okay, cool. So our code up here works. When I type that in, it gets me my number. Actually, I don't need that, do I? So what I want to do is this. I want to say switch, and again with IntelliSense, one tip that I want to give you every single time you're doing this, when this pops up, you can use the arrows to choose the one you want. Choose the one that says CSharp and hit tab, and it'll actually build this structure for you, and you can then put in something like selection right here. And once I do that, I've basically told it, hey, I want you to do something here. Now, we talked about switches before. They're a little fancy, but here's how they work. The switch statement is basically like saying, hey, I've got like multiple paths that you might want to take. I want you to run one of these, but only the one that you're lined up for. So if I say case 1, that means if selection is 1, I want you to execute the code right here. If selection is 2, I do case 2, I want you to write the code right here. And it's going to go until it hits the word break. I'm going to delete the default case here because we're going to trust that they gave us a valid value. Actually, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this. I'm going to say throw new exception. Don't worry about that right now. Yeah, Horkrine. Yeah, that's why I put it back in. Now, realistically, if you were writing real code, I could talk to you for days about what you should actually do with exceptions. You probably shouldn't put it in here right like I am, right like the type of exception. Don't worry about that. Just do this for now. There are a lot of things that I will tell to the more advanced developers that I won't tell to you guys. You aren't building, like a system for a bank or something. You're educating yourself in programming. There are a lot of details. You're going to focus on certain things at any given time. So focus on learning one thing. Don't worry about all the other stuff. Just, learn about one thing at a time. There's a breadth of knowledge that you will gain as you focus on programming more and more. You'll learn a lot of new stuff. So just work on what you want to for now. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to do case 3. And I want to say break. Okay, so case 1, break, case 2, break, case 3, break. So break is a special thing inside of C#. This is a special keyword, and what it says is break out of the thing that we're currently in. So right now we're inside of a switch statement, and break says, get me out of the switch statement. Don't continue on, get me out of it. So what that means is we do case 1, and then we break out of here, skipping all the rest of this. If we do case 2, so selection was 2, we just execute this code, and then we hit the break, and it says get out of here, and it will skip all of this code. Again, with case 3, if selection was 3, it'll come in here, and then when it sees break, it'll break us out and get us down to the end of the switch. That's all it's there for. And yes, URaker default is, it wasn't any of the previous cases, so execute the default one. Whoops. Yep, that's exactly what it is. Okay, so here's what we want to do. If it was case 1, I want to get I want to create a cat or a dog or a baby or something. So what we can do is this. We're gonna do something a little bit weird. I want to make... We've talked about these before as well. I'm going to make a list. And I'm going to make a list. So we've seen lists like this before. List, and we might call this names equals new list of string. And this is what we've normally seen, right? This is a list. So a list in this case, think of it like a collection. So I want to have a collection of objects. A list is what we do to store a collection of data. This list is all strings. That's what I said. This is a list of strings. So if I want to have a list of names, this is how I define it. Now you may have noticed there are red squiggles. Twix. List is a more advanced array. The underlying data structure is the same. And if that didn't make sense to anybody, don't worry about it. That was an answer for Twix. What you want to do, so this is red squigglying, it doesn't know about the list type right now. Now I've mentioned this before. In CSharp, the way we tell it, hey, there's another piece of code somewhere out there inside of the .NET framework, the .NET Core framework that I want access to. The way that we get that is we tell it, hey, include this other stuff. And we do that by saying using something. So system got us access to a lot of the basic stuff that we're using already here. But list isn't part of the basic system set. So what I do is I hold the control key and I hit dot while my cursor's on this list, and it'll come up with this little window, and it says using system collection generic is the first option. I want to click on that because the using means it's going to add this line of code at the top for me. So this wasn't here a second ago, we just saw this. So it says using system collections generic. So remember I told you a list is a collection of data? This gives us access to the collection types. So collections are special types in C#. I mean, they're not really special in any way, but they're more useful. They're declared the same way that I've already shown you how to create types. So all of these types, all these things we're using in C#, they're written the same way as the stuff you already know how to write. So that's one of the really amazing things, is the basic tools that we have already learned and used here. Those are the tools that are making everything else work. So it's really cool. Okay, so we have this new list of strings. Well, I didn't want a list of strings, really. I just did this as an example, because what I could do is I could have said, like, names.add John Smith. Whoops. Right? I could do this, and, you know, I can add all these items to the list. Joe Smith, Jack Smith, John with no H, and Jim Smith, right? And I can put all these names into our name list. And so that's how this collection works, right? I can add objects to the collection. And obviously this is a string, and you'll remember a string is a variable, and then this is also a string, and a string is a variable. So we basically said, hey, this is a collection of string variables. Okay. that makes total sense. I got it. But what I can do, instead of using a list of string, is I could make a list of inamables. So now I have this list of inamables. I don't want to call it names. I want to call it nameable. Namables, we'll say. So these are my namables. And when I create one of these, I could say namables.add, and I could say number 1 we said was cat, so I'm gonna do new cat, which I'm gonna do it like this: var cat equals new cat. Then I'm going to say add the cat to the list. So Twix, if you have full Visual Studio, you probably want to use that for learning C#. You can if you want. VS Code, which is what we're in right now, is a little easier. So it's a lower starting point. So for anyone who isn't already coding or doesn't already have Visual Studio installed, this is a much easier barrier, and so thus a good place to start. There's less distractions, there's less other stuff. This is more focused on writing code. But full Visual Studio gives you access to more stuff, more power, and so it is arguably a better place to write the code. But a good starting point is here in VS Code. So that one goes up to you. If you already have it installed, I might use full Visual Studio. But it's entirely up to you. Okay. So here's what I want to do next. I want to say var dog equals new dog. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to say namables.add the dog. And then I'm going to do the next one. Basically the same way down here, but instead of saying dog, I'm going to say baby. And baby. And baby. So baby, 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 namables add. Good. Yeah. So what S&B says? Oh, it's Batman HD. Nameable is just an interface that we added that just has get name. So interfaces, classes, types, that's what we're focusing on today. Trying to understand these a little bit. So all of our classes, cat, dog, and baby, all implement the inameable interface, which means that they're telling everybody else by having this. This is basically like saying, oh, I will respond to being an inameable. I meet all the requirements to be one of these, so if you just need an inameable, I'm an acceptable option for that. And that's basically the declaration that makes up there, is that you have those. Actually, I'm going to get rid of these properties that we put down here, because we don't actually need them. Okay, so we have getName. We've got that. Everything works fine. And I can come down here. So this is the end of my switch statement. And I want to say, let me get that out of the way for a second. I want to say for each. So we've talked about for each loops in here. And I'm going to go down to the one again that says C#. And I'm going to hit tab. And I'm going to say for each var item in namables, I want to say item.getName. And I'm going to cut this onto my clipboard here, and I'm going to say console.writeLine, and I'm going to say hello. And we're going to say their name like that. So we're going to say hello item.getName. And instead of var here, I'm going to say inameable, because it is an inameable. And instead of item, I'm going to say named and oh, that's fun. I think you guys can probably hear a baby in the background. Okay, so now that I've got that, I'm going to run this code again. So pro tip, seriously pro tip, whenever you're writing code, what you really, really, really want to do is make sure that you run it, right? You're writing code, just run your code. Think you might be done? Run your code. Got a little bit more than you had before? Run your code. I don't care whether or not you think you're completely done or whatever. Run your code again. Just see where you are. You know, as long as you're not writing code that like breaks things, you should be fine. Our stuff is fairly safe, so I want to make a cat. And it says, hello kitty. If I run it again, I could choose a dog this time. It says, hello Mr. Barkers. And if I run it a third time, I could type in 3, and it says, you know, hello. So it gets all 3 of those. And what's cool is this code did not care one bit, whoops, what the actual type was that it got. So that is actually pretty darn cool. Yeah, Eureka, we actually did one on stream on Tuesday. We were at a website called Coding Game. Is a good place for practicing your coding. Okay, so what we've managed to achieve here is we can use interfaces, we can use classes, we can use types, we can use objects. There's a whole bunch of stuff that we can now do after having learned this. We could do things like, and now maybe this is, and SMB's right, try.net is a great place to start also. So an exercise for all of you who maybe want to try something a little bit more complicated here is make this able to work with all these various different objects. You could do this in a loop and say like, hey, maybe you create a set of all of these, you know, dogs, cats, babies. You could make friends as another one. Your friends can have names. You could, you know, say, hey, I want to play board games. And you could play a board game with a friend, but probably not a baby, a cat, or a dog. You could, you know, you probably would pet a cat or a dog, but you probably wouldn't pet your baby or your friend. That might be a little bit weird. But there's a lot of things like that that you could write in here and add additional things to the interfaces. The point that I'm trying to make is that these interfaces are small, easy to use, and make it nice. So, cool. Now, I want to tell you guys all something funny. I want to mention what we do here on the regular stream. So we get a lot of people that show up here that are beginner programmers, and I go through these lessons, and we're going to keep doing the lesson, don't worry. But we go through these Learn to Code episodes where I talk at a beginner level about how the language works and things like that. Now, on our regular stream, I also try to explain how all the different stuff works, because I do get that for any given thing I know, any other developer, regardless of their skill and experience level, might not know that exact same thing I know. So, I make sure I try to explain things. So if someone brings up a question, they say, hey, how does, like, hey, what does that do? How does that work? I'm going to answer it regardless. But I do want to mention that even if you are a beginner programmer, you can still show up to all of our regular streams. So here on DevChatter, we actually have 4 streams a week on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, where we are just doing live coding usually on one of our projects. So our main project, as most people know, is our chatbot that is in the chat and does some interesting things. Like you may have seen in the chat window that there were some people playing rock, paper, scissors over there. And that's basically just competing against the bot, and it responds back. It plays rock, paper, scissors with us, and that's how it works. So it's basically each of us against the bot, so it's going to make a choice. It doesn't really matter how that game works. But then we do other things as well. This is one of the fun ones that we did recently, that I am actually going to click this button, and I will probably regret clicking this button, but I'm going to do it anyway. Get ready. So we built this little hype command that just does all this absurdity over here, and makes all of that happen. Hang on. Okay, so then there's that. So that's our hype command. It's a little bit crazy, but it's kind of fun because it does stuff like that. We're doing other things as well. We're trying to make it so the bot does more stuff on my screen here. And JVB, JVBSL, I don't know how you pronounce that. But yes, that's a very good answer. Yep. It calls the constructor of the base class. So you guys were seeing this here. That's a slightly more advanced thing. Anyway, I figured I'd mention that because we do cool stuff here. So, that's all. The craziness on the screen there was all HTML and JavaScript. And it communicates to that through something called SignalR. So for any of the more advanced developers, those are concepts. But the beginner developers, you will see a lot of things in code. Even if you don't understand all of it, there's more stuff like that. Uraker, so the difference there is that this calls another constructor of your own object, and base will call the constructor of the parent object. So whatever you're inheriting from. So if I'm inheriting from a base class, that will call the constructor of my base class. This calls the other ones on this class. So, yep, makes sense. So JVB, so the thing with the rock, paper, scissors is that you're not actually, you're not competing against us, so it doesn't matter that we can see it. You're competing against the bot. And so the bot chooses one. So that's why it doesn't matter that we can all see each other's choices in that rock, paper, scissors game. We're each individually competing against the bot. Yep. So one other thing that's kind of cool that we've got in here, and I apologize about the morbidity, but we have a game. Yeah, the bot does know, but it doesn't use that information, S&B. We have a game that we have in here called Hangman. And ooh, is it not going to show up? Oh man, wonder why it didn't appear. So we have a Hangman game that we can play in chat as well, and that is part of our bots functionality. So yes, as JVBSL did there, you can just say HM and then a letter, and then that's how you play in Hangman. So maybe we'll get it, maybe we won't. And your hint is that most of the words in the Hangman dictionary that we're using are either food or tech related. So, oh man, I don't know what that is. A U in the beginning? That seems like a tough one, but maybe I'm just not thinking of it. Whew. Yeah, that's a tough word. Anyway. Okay. So, well, some people play Hangman in the chat over there. They're actually about to die in that game of Hangman, I think. I'm not sure how many more mess-ups they get. It was mushroom. Oh man. Oh, that is a hard word. Well, that's not a very nice thing to say. Okay, so we have pet, we have nameable, we have walkable, we have some classes. I think that actually works out pretty well. Monster the Messy. .NET and Java have similar roots. The syntax is going to appear the same, and the languages basically work the same way. They're the same type of language. CSharp is a probably faster moving language, and that's about it. So that's the idea with the difference between .NET and Java. They're run by different companies and they have different focuses, but the new .NET Core stuff runs on all platforms: Windows, Linux, Mac. So it's a little bit different. Yeah, so essentially the idea is that .NET was originally written basically as a replacement for Java, and around 2005 or so, It basically surpassed Java in terms of features. That's around the time when it started passing it, and it's been ahead of it for a while in terms of like what is in the language. Now, people have preferences on which one they like better, but for the most part, because Microsoft has been slightly more willing to break backwards compatibility with previous versions, they've managed to get a little bit further ahead of Java, but that's about it. Most of it just comes down to preference. I like C# a lot better, but some people like Java better. Is there a right answer for which one to choose? I think it depends on your circumstances, past experiences, and what type of code you like. Most people I know that really understand like programming language design and things like that will tell you that C# is better, but a lot of people that hate Microsoft will tell you that Java is better. I think primarily because they hate Microsoft. But in terms of language design, C# is a very good language, and that's the language that is primarily used on .NET and .NET Core. So Java is a language as well, but it runs on a framework kind of like how .NET is a framework. So, yeah, so as was pointed out there, so Java can be used for certain things, and it just depends on what you want to do with them. So they can both do all kinds of stuff. One of the nice things about C# and Java, and it's one of the reasons why I recommend C# as a good language for people to learn, is that you can do a lot of things with C# and Java. They are all over the places. There are plenty of jobs. You can do all kinds of applications with them. You can do business app development. You can do web app development. You can do mobile development. You can make games. You can make console applications. You can make applications that run native on a computer with a GUI interface on it. You can pretty much do whatever you want with them. So they're good, stable languages for doing a lot of different stuff. So that's part of the reason why I really, really recommend that people learn a language like a C#. You can get away with using Python, JavaScript. There are a lot of other languages. C++ is another really useful language. And so yes, they're very useful. But the amount of stuff you can do with C#, I would argue there's more application types that you can build with C# than there are with C++. That's not to say that you can't build them with C++, because C++ being a lower level language, you can actually build everything you could in C#. However, so the difference is that C++, it might be a lot harder to do things. So you could build a web application in C++, but if you're building a web application in C++, I think you're probably doing it wrong. That's not to say you can't do it, but you'd be better off using a language that's, you know, higher level for that, because you have to do so much in C++ to achieve the same result. Now, if you are writing an application that needs absolute control over memory, 100% you need to be in C++. Yeah, so JVBSL is correct. Templates and things in C++. So I have had long arguments with people about templates in C++ versus generics in C#, and the end of the story basically is that they're both very powerful, and they're both very useful. A lot of C++ people will underestimate how powerful generics are. That's not to say generics are as powerful as templates in C++, but there's definitely something there. So to any beginners that are here still, which I hope you are still here, I kind of want to give you the idea that there is, as we're discussing this, I want to mention there is a world of knowledge that you can gain about these things, but none of the stuff that we're currently talking about is required to be a programmer in any given language. There is massive amounts of information you can learn. So if you have any interest in any of this stuff, you could continue learning for years and years and years, and you would never know all of it. And I know that seems daunting, but in many ways that's actually one of the greatest things about programming and software development, is that there's always new things to learn, there's always new ideas, there's always, you know, new stuff. There are new things to explore, new things to research. We can have these long discussions about how this stuff all works and you know, the pros and cons of different things. Yes. So the interesting thing, as JVB is talking about generic types in C Sharp, is it actually works differently depending on what the type is that you're using in your generic. It actually has two different approaches that it's actually taking behind the scenes, so it's actually kind of interesting. And it will create at runtime new stuff for you when it finds out it needs it. Because it obviously does not want to create all possible options that you could potentially have, so it will wait until it needs one and create. Hard to explain, kind of complicated. Yeah, so along those lines, there are a lot of things that are done in C++ that I would like to see improved in C Sharp as well. So most of the advancements C Sharp has been getting lately have been coming from functional programming. Now, I've been talking to you mostly about object-oriented programming. That was primarily our focus today. But functional programming is another way of thinking about code. And so functional languages, they don't work the same way as all this stuff. So that's one of the weird things about it. So this code we're seeing up here, this is not functional code. This is object-oriented code. And so it's kind of weird to think about it that way. C++ is not, I mean, it has object-oriented code. It is object-oriented. It's not as object-oriented as Java or C Sharp, but it definitely has object-oriented programming concepts in it. But most of our stuff lately has been coming from functional programming, whereas I think C Sharp could improve from taking some of the things out of C++, because it is also... yes, I said it's object-oriented. It takes a different... Yeah, it's not like... It is. I said it is. It's an object-oriented programming language. We're getting into some of these hairy, technical, weedy details. Yeah, so I don't consider multiple inheritance to be a good thing. Yeah, so user, the lambdas that we have in C Sharp, that is like a functional programming concept. So multiple inheritance is a very powerful concept. I'm not going to get into the details of how it works right now, but needless to say, it comes with some dangers. You can, like, that's one of those features that you can do some great stuff with it, but man, when you mess up with it, it is going to, like, destroy you. Yes, exactly. Yes, that's the, yes, nail on the head right there. Multiple inheritance has perks. It's just, it also comes with some horrible problems. So that's actually one of the fears with C Sharp right now. So C Sharp version 8 is coming out soon, and it's actually going to, well said, Pyro. C Sharp version 8 is going to have a new thing, and it's going to have interfaces that have default implementations. So the nice thing about C Sharp is when I write one of these little interfaces, it does not come with an implementation. And that's actually why it's safe for my class here to have 3 interfaces, because they don't come with a default implementation, so you don't run into the collision of, oh, I have 2 name methods, which one do I use? I don't know. You don't get that, because the implementation actually only has 1. And so in C Sharp 8, they're trying to be very careful about it, but they're going to allow interfaces to have an implementation on it, which is really crazy. Having 10 implementations for a string isn't... Not sure how many Epic Games Session Real added themselves, though. Pyro's, I think Pyro's talking about different versions of string. So, yeah, that's a problem of frameworks, exactly. We'll have the... Exactly, JVB, yes. Yep, it's going to have the diamond. Exactly. Yep. And so that's why. What we're talking about is an interesting thing. So the multiple inheritance comes with its problems. I'm not going to get into all the specifics of it, but the challenge is that some of the problems with multiple inheritance will likely come into C# a little bit when we get that feature. And so that's why there are a lot of developers that are concerned about adding that feature to C#. Now, I see some advantages to having it, and I think if we are cautious as developers, we can safely use this without much concern. However, it requires some discipline on our part to make sure that we don't create those problems. So, having default implementations leads us to so S&B, I think it's just going to be available by default, but if you don't do any implementations in your code base, you're fine, right? You didn't do any default implementations, you don't have them. So, I mean, it's only opt-in in that if you didn't use the feature, you don't have it. But that doesn't mean that you can turn it off, as far as I know, S&B. Oh, yeah, so it doesn't come up that often, JVB. But it's that it can, and that's one of the things that worries developers, is that someone is going to do that, and then, like, I'm going to inherit a code base that has these nasty problems in it that I have to deal with. So, it comes up. So, yeah, so that's one of the cool ones. So, other things that I want to talk to all of you about. Okay, so, coming up in the future, we have some other streams that we're going to be doing here on the channel, starting next week. So a week from today, I'm going to be doing a special series of streams that I'm calling Solid Saturdays. So for anyone who is interested, the plan for Solid Saturdays is that on Saturday, starting at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, I am going to be doing essentially a stream where we're going to focus on each of the solid principles of object-oriented design. So that means next Saturday, I'm going to do a stream where we're going to discuss the single responsibility principle and why it's useful. And then the following Saturday, 2 weeks from today, I'm going to talk about the open-closed principle, then on to Liskov substitution, interface segregation, and then finally ending on September 15th, we will do the 5th of our Solid Saturdays series with the dependency inversion principle. So we're going to go through each one of those. Now, because of the way explanations of these work, I am going to be talking about each one, so I'm going to focus on one, but you can't avoid mentioning the others. And that's just because they are so tightly wound together. And that's why we always link solid and phrase it that way. So that's obviously an acronym, S-O-L I and D for each of those principles. So it should be a fun set of streams. Let's see. Tagaron, we'll try not to use it in my code, but I honestly have the advantage that I mostly write framework code where I have control over the deployment. Oh, that's actually really nice, Tagaron. Yes, Pyro, we're doing a little bit of nerdy talk time. What some people know is, when my streams start, I try to, as quickly as possible, get into writing code so that we can, just get started. Because we can talk about anything. I can talk to you about my schedule, things like that. I can bring stuff up. I can mention things. And yes, S&B, Solid Saturdays are going to include Dry and Yagni. I haven't decided the order. Those are going to be afterwards. But yes, we will be talking about those as well. Because I usually talk about them in all of my... I've given a lot of talks at conferences and things like that. I've done workshops on understanding the solid principles before, and Dry and Yagni are always included at the end of it. So after I talk about SOLI and D, I talk about Dry and Yagni because those are the roots of the solid principles. Yeah, so a lot of us know these concepts and follow them, but we don't always know them by their words. And so it gives us some understanding to be able to communicate with other developers when we do this. It's Batman HD. Yes, we're absolutely going to learn about Lambda expressions. We're also going to cover we're going to talk about Lambda expressions. We're going to talk about local functions. I talk about those on our regular streams all the time. We actually do use those in the regular DevChatter streams. So if you make it to those, you will absolutely get to see them. And yes, JVB, so they do sometimes. So not everybody uses the same terms for these principles. Solid is actually not from CSharp, right? I believe it was coined by a Java dev, actually. And it doesn't really matter where it came from because the principle still applies. It applies to C++ just the same way it does to C# and Java. And you can actually apply it to any language that has object-oriented tendencies, even if it's not an object-oriented language. It doesn't have to be object-oriented, it just has to, contain it. Oh. Wow. JVB doesn't like Java, apparently. Pyro, make sure you show up to Solid Saturdays, and I will absolutely be explaining those there, and the different pieces will make sense. DRY is also an acronym. It's just so that was one of the other things that SNB mentioned. DRY is just an acronym that says "Don't repeat yourself." That just means, try not to repeat your code. It's pretty easy. Well, I just know past implementations of index of were made with regex. I love regular expressions. They're fantastic, JVB. I actually used to work for a company that managed a site that was all about regular expressions. It was very fun. I did that a long time ago. Regular expressions are amazing. There's something I'm going to have to talk about at some point. Quiet Challenger, welcome. You've missed a whole bunch of stuff, but you are welcome to hang out and discuss code and programming and other things like that with us. Having an implementation of index of that does a regular expression would not be the worst thing. But you definitely want to have one that isn't using that. And so, what day is generics? So, Uraker, I'm not sure when we're going to talk about generics. That might be episode 7 or episode 8 that we talk about those. But we will definitely be talking about generics on one of our Learn to Code streams. And again, that's another one of those concepts. We use generics all the time on our regular streams. So if you know programming well enough to know that you want to learn generics, I'd recommend you show up at one of our regular streams and ask questions when I'm using generics, because we will use generics. We actually use them throughout all of our code. It's very, very common for us to have that. Quiet Challenger, yes, we do have sub-icons. We've actually had them on our channel since the day that Twitch actually gave us access to them. So all the subscribers of our channel have these eggs now. So you have an egg. Hey, who was in here earlier? Greendolf was in here earlier. And Greendolf has a different icon. So hang on, let me say hi. So I am actually out of my egg. You'll notice that my subscriber icon is that little dinosaur right there. So you can guess what you get once you get further along. But we have some people that have hatching eggs now, so it's kind of cool. What does a T4 template? Does anyone even use them? Yeah. We have all of these DevQIOM. So, the suggestion, solid stream. So, that is one of our suggestions that someone asked for. What kind of keyboard do I use? That is a fantastic question. I use one of these. So El Armigo, or however that's pronounced, that is the keyboard I use. This Yes, this is a Microsoft Sculpt. That is correct. It is a split keyboard. It has a nice gap in the middle, and gives me a nice spot to type. It's wireless, works pretty well. I would prefer if it were not wireless. I'd rather have a wired keyboard, but I like the way the keyboard works well enough that I'm willing to do this. If they sold me this as a wired version, I would use this everywhere. Everywhere! It's fantastic. I can't use it for gaming, so when I game, I actually switch back to a regular keyboard because this one is just a little bit slow, especially for really, really important timing stuff because it is wireless. So like for programming, no big deal. I can type, it buffers it, like it catches up, it's fine. But for gaming, it's not fast enough. What games do I play? I play a bunch of different games, Vulcan. So, there are a lot of games that I've played before that I don't currently play either that I wish I did. One of the ones I like that I play some is called Dead by Daylight, and it's a survival game, sort of, because I usually play a survivor. It's a fun game. I like Stardew Valley. That's a very basic game. Reminds me of Harvest Moon from a long time ago. I used to play a lot of Overwatch. Lots of Overwatch. I play some first-person shooters, and wow, man, what a jerk. He just doesn't seem like a nice guy. So by DevQYOM. Yeah, so Dead by Daylight gets kind of repetitive. I haven't played it that much. Quiet Challenger, feel free to shout out a question. I actually sort of did Pyro. He's on a list now. He's on a list of people that are banned from the channel, making that only the second person with it. So, yes, feel free to ask questions, people. I have ample time to ask questions. Also, for anyone that is wondering, I do recommend that people take to Twitter and suggest that CSharp Fritz and I play some Overwatch sometime on stream. Because both of us like Overwatch League and root for various teams. We'll both be rooting for Team USA as the Overwatch World Cup starts here. And we could do a gaming stream. Yeah, Horkrine, you can ask that question. I use Crest brand toothpaste. It works great. So Quiet Challenger has a hash table, and it has 3 members, A, B, and C. And I will tell you, I'm not a PowerShell expert. It's the first one, Horkrine. Actually, I like JV's suggestion of not using PowerShell. So Quiet Challenger, here's my recommendation, because I will tell you, I am not a PowerShell expert, and so you can ask me that question, and I might be able to get you the answer on that, but I would recommend you join our Discord and ask the question over there. So we actually have a lot of devs here that are on our Discord, chatting about different things. Our Discord is actually fairly active. We get people talking about all kinds of different things related to programming. So if you do join it, I recommend that you mute the channels you aren't interested in and pay attention to certain ones. Because if you are interested in anything dev related, you really, really do want to join the Discord. Yeah, so Quiet Challenger, if you're getting weird stuff, like if you're actually running into a problem that Stack Overflow could help, we'll just be like, hey, yeah, post it on Stack Overflow, and we could potentially even answer it there. But we can also help discuss what's going on and what you're trying to do and how you're trying to solve a problem and things like that. So our Discord is a great place for that sort of thing. So for anybody who was wondering, one of the big reasons why I even created DevChatter is to try and create a larger developer community. So as part of that, we do our streams when we want to chat about different things. We want people of all different levels of programming, because that gets us a variety of different ideas, different views, different opinions on things. We can chat about all kinds of fun stuff. So DevChatter's here so that we can discuss. That's why it's called DevChatter. It's a community of people talking about code. So that's really what we are here. But a couple of things I do want to mention. We have a Discord, and that's actually where we do a lot of the discussions outside of the streams. So these streams are like our anchor point for bringing us all together, for working on one shared goal and running through this stuff, and they're kind of fun, and I like it a lot. And if anyone wants to catch our old videos, so you can find them here on the video section on Twitch, or if you want to see anything that is older, so Twitch only keeps the videos around for a little while, but all the recordings of everything we do here on the stream is out on our YouTube channel. No, Pyro, I haven't played that, but I have played the alpha release of a game called Graveyard Keeper. And Horcrine, yes. So I intentionally don't wear green on these days, which is a problem because I own a lot of green shirts. But yeah, I'm in front of a green screen right now. And I'm not planning on being a disembodied head, maybe for Halloween. We'll see. I will have to check those out at some point, Pyro. Other things to mention. If people want, you can follow DevChatter on Twitter, or you can follow me on Twitter. I'm like right there at Brendonius. And Horcrine, yeah, I am a Zelda fan. It is a great series of games. I'm one of the people that played all the older ones. I haven't played the newer ones because, you know, being a little bit too adult, I haven't gotten as much gaming in as I would like. So I have not gotten into some of the newer ones. Haven't played Breath of the Wild yet, but I would love to. So let's see. Other things that I want to mention. So I mentioned Twitter, I mentioned YouTube, mentioned Discord. Oh, all the code that we do here on stream is out on GitHub. And actually, if you are a programmer and you are interested in assisting us with any of our stuff, contributing, writing any code, our chatbot's usually where we get most of the stuff. Oh, whoa! 2 hours ago, we got a pull request 2 hours ago. That's awesome. So we get a pull request probably during the stream. So that's neat. Yep, it's right when the stream started. We got a pull request that came in. That's really cool. Oh, so you've been playing Ark, Katrina. That's cool. So we got another pull request. Pimplek, hey, welcome. We'll probably review this on Monday's stream, so it should be good stuff. Looking forward to seeing what he got in here. But we've got people that send us pull requests from time to time, so if you want to write some code on our bot, you're welcome to do that and send us a pull request. So basically, here's the idea. So what this developer did is forked our code base, so got a copy for themselves, made a bunch of changes, and then they send us what's called a pull request, and that is a request to me to review their code and pull that into our code base. So essentially, they wrote code that they want us to integrate. They're like, hey, yeah, I did this cool thing for you. You know, here, take a look. And so then I'll review it, and if I need any changes, I'll say, hey, no, we need you to do this, and then we can merge it in. And then they'll change those, and that'll be cool. But if everything's good, we'll just merge it in. And then sometimes, if they do need a minor edit, I'll just go ahead and make the edit and bring it in myself. And it depends on the circumstances. But if you do want to send in code, it's a cool way to do things. Pimplek, if you don't have the bits for it, it wouldn't work. I'm not sure why the cheering's not working. It looks like you typed in the right thing. So you might be out of biddies. So anyway, the cool thing is, oh, I don't know then, Pimplek. That's weird. So the, no, it should be capital C, and it is case sensitive. But anyway, so the cool thing is, this guy that sent this pull request in, he's in our Discord, first off, but also is the one that modified our hype command. So you'll notice that the hype command, they're going in all directions in a big ring in all directions right now. That is actually a change that was sent in by this developer. So the exact thing that I said, I said on stream, I'm like, yeah, I'd really rather this did this. You know, like, we'll add that at some point. Went and did it, so I thought it was really great. So got us a really cool new feature, and I like it. Yeah, it's a donut of dinos. So it's really a cool concept there. Yeah, sorry, Horkrine. You literally have to wait 2 seconds. Now you can start a Hangman game. It's been 2 seconds. That's really impressive. Well done. Well done. So, that Hangman game that we've got in chat there, that is playing right now, that is one of our games that the bot can play. It can play a few others too, but we need to do some balancing on them. I'm not sure what that word is. However, that is some of our cool stuff. Let me take a quick look around. Hang on. There we go. Okay, so no one's online. Well, that's a bummer. Oh, cool. Alright, so you just had to refresh your browser or something like that. Well, thank you for the 4 biddies there, Pimplek. Much appreciated. Yeah, so biddies always appreciated. Any support for the channel is always appreciated. So whether people want to sub or whether they want to head down below, we do have, at the request of some of our users, I actually went up and I set up a Patreon for DevChatter. So if you are interested in supporting DevChatter, this community, you can either use biddies on Twitch, or you can sign up to be a patron on our Patreon, or you can subscribe. Any of those are possible. No, Pyro, it's either food or that. So we originally started with food, and then we added in all the dev tech stuff. So you apparently haven't seen the food words yet, but yeah, there are plenty. Yep, they're food or dev. They're down below the stream. So yeah, here, let me show you. They're down here if people are interested. So this support section right here has that. So if anybody is interested in supporting the stream, that is also possible. And if you are an Amazon Prime member, and this actually goes for any stream, so whether it's mine or anybody else's, any stream on Twitch, if you have an Amazon Prime account, you actually get Twitch Prime for free as well. And Twitch Prime actually gives you a free subscription to any channel you want once a month. So every month you can just get a free sub to a channel, subbing to channels gets you neat things like access to their emotes, or the little dinosaur sub icons, things like that. And also, if you're subscribed to a channel, you don't see an ad when you load the channel either, so you skip all the ads at the beginning of the stream, which on Twitch, yes, you often see a pre-roll ad before you actually get to see the stream, but if you're subscribed to the channel, you do not get an ad at the beginning of that channel's streams when you enter. And yes, you get access to the hype emote like what Katrina used there. Yes, Horkrine, unless you have ad block, at which point you've blocked them anyway. But yes, being a Prime member or subbing. What's the story? The thing behind the dinosaur, I like dinosaurs. They're kind of fun, and I was like, what's more fun than taking a big scary monster like a dinosaur and being like, let's do a cutesy one that's happy and excited, and it's like, and he's got his little short arms. So that's our channel mascot, we'll say. So our little T-Rex with his tiny arms and his little grabbers. I love those little things because he's just like, I have tiny arms, I need these. That's how I can hold the sign above my head. So it's kind of fun. Yes, he can't hold it up without it. Other thing that I should mention, at the request of some users, I set up, so some of our fans yelled at me and were like, hey, go do a thing. So I made things. So if people wanted either like DevChatter stickers or mugs or things like that, we have those as well. So I do have a mug on the way to me as well. I don't have it yet, but it's supposed to be shipping here soon and coming to me. So I will be able to drink my Pepsi or my tea out of a mug. And yes, I am willing to drink either of those out of a mug. Pyro, I don't think that we can actually get that on there. Also, I don't, what do we get, 1 month, 3 month, 6 month, 1 year. Pyro, until we reach partner status with Twitch, we don't actually get the 2-year badge. We only get up to a 1-year badge. So affiliates can only go up to a 1-year badge right now. So our 1-year badge is also a dinosaur one. So should be good. Let's see, questions and other things that that we should talk about on the stream. So I know I mentioned everybody. I do actually really so if you don't actually know what Discord is, no, Katrina, there are 2 on Red Bull. There are 2 stickers. There are 2 stickers. There's the Hello World sticker, this one. And then there's the I'm coding stickers. So Hello World or I'm coding, either one. So either of those. Yeah, so the weird thing is it shows these bags to start. Just kind of ignore that. You can just click on that because it's what the artwork is that matters. So actually, if you go here and you click on stationery, it should show you, you should see these. And so that one popped up as a sticker, that one popped up as a notebook. I don't know how Redbubble's deciding what is on there, but yeah, there's that. And then I also got, I have stickers myself that I'm going to take to conferences with me. So, speaking of which, if anybody is wondering, if you are in the United States or will be in October, obviously, if you're not in the United States, that's not to say you couldn't fly to the United States, but I will be speaking at Tech Bash in October. It's going to be a fun conference. It is at a Kalahari, which is a big water park. So it's an indoor water park. So whether the weather's nice or not, there's still that bit of fun. And I will be speaking both about streaming stuff and C-Sharp, as are things that I'm both passionate and interested about. But there are a lot of other people speaking there as well, including C-Sharp Fritz will be there also. And I think they have Scott Hunter doing, I think that's who's doing their main keynote. So Scott Hunter, for those of you that don't know, is in charge of ASP.NET. So he's fairly high up in that organization. But Tech Bash, it's run by a bunch of ASP insiders. They're good fellas. And if you do want to go and you are interested, the promo code that you guys all have access to is literally my last name. So if you do want to go to this, you can actually use my last name, and when you click apply code, you actually do get a discount. So if anybody is interested in going, don't pay full price, do that. Use a discount code, because I can get you a discount, and why wouldn't you use it? So, interestingly, this ASP.NET Core workshop that it talks about, I think is C-Sharp Fritz's workshop. Yes, Horcrine, some people do that, and that would require that code be in there. But yes, this one is in there. So, and yeah, Horcrine, that is one of the challenges, is finding time off. I know a lot of people can get conferences when they are, that's one of the ways that you can make it out. But yeah, this is actually a conference that's over closer to Fritz than it is to me. I hope to be speaking at the version of this conference that's closer to me. But just to show you all where it is, it's right here. So there's New York City, there's Philadelphia. That's where it takes place. I am many hours to the west of that. Let's see. Download some money and upload a plane. Exactly, Pyro. That's why I mentioned for the people that are in the U.S. If you're not in the U.S., it's a tough order to fly to a conference in the U.S. Kind of like, for us, it's hard to get to events over in Europe, unless we're speaking. And if people do want to get me out to those, let me know when there are calls for proposals for speaking at different events in Europe. I am willing to go over there sometimes. You just have to let me know when it is, and I can look into it. Okay, see, I know I mentioned all the various links and stuff, and all the different things that we needed to talk about. It's Batman HD. I don't think that conference is going to be streaming their content online. I actually am not sure on that one. I'll have to ask them. I'm not sure if they're recording either. So we'll find out what Tech Bash does this year, but various conferences do different things with that. But either way, I think it's likely, considering that you know, that's becoming more of a thing. Codehair, hey, welcome. Thanks for the host. Hopefully everybody in Codehair's stream was having a good day. Codehair, what were you guys working on? We actually just we have wrapped up our C# coding for the day. We were doing our Learn to Code stream where we were teaching people C#, and we've been chatting about different coding things and stuff like that for a little while. We talked for a little while about C# and different features of the language. You did a little Code Wars in Java. Oh, nice! That's pretty fun. Codehair, we could totally do some coding at some point on something. Pyro, you have a C# question? Which would you recommend to new people, .NET Framework or Core? Core. Pyro, I recommend Core to everyone, not just people that are new to it. So .NET Core is lighter weight, faster. And the nice thing is that full framework is kind of like a superset of Core. So if you can use, everything that you can do in Core, you can pretty much just do in full framework. That's not exactly true, but it mostly is. So the other nice thing is if you're doing things in Core and you realize you need full framework, you can just switch to using full framework. So I highly recommend that everybody just start with Core as your default, and basically say, if I can use Core, I will, and if I find out that I need full framework, I will switch to it. And then that should just be your default answer right now. So full framework's not going away. Microsoft will be maintaining that. It's not disappearing, but with anything, you want to be where the new stuff is. And yes, exactly, as Horkrine says, the nice thing about Core is that everything is opt-in, so it's modular. So you can just pull in new stuff, that you pull in the pieces that you want, instead of saying, oh yeah, grab all the stuff at once and build it, and that just takes forever. You want, like, and it's slow, it's big, it's bulky. .NET Core is lightweight, easy, and great. And Tagaron is correct. So he's saying that if you don't need WPF or WinForms, you definitely want to use Core. However, don't forget, so there's a cool new thing, and that is that .NET Core 3.0, which is the next major version that's going to be coming out, when that drops, they're going to make it so you can use .NET Core on WPF and WinForms and Universal Windows applications. So, oh, give me a break, Horkrine. I mean, .NET 2.1 was months ago. Maybe into this, I don't know when 3 is dropping, but when it does, and maybe it's 6 months from now. I don't know the exact timeline, but we're developers. Once we get 3.0, nice, Katrina. Once we get 3.0, then we'll be able to actually use .NET Core on all of our GUI applications inside of Windows. So it's going to be really, really nice. Pyro, yeah, C# tends to compile very fast, especially Roslyn. So the new C# compiler, its name is Roslyn. It is really, really fast. You saw a job interview for a company looking for a dev with 5+ years of experience in .NET Core 2.1. Yeah, Horkrine. The idea is I've been using my time machine, so I actually got .NET Core 2.0 like 6 years ago. So yeah. Do any of my family members watch me? I actually don't know the answer to that. So my wife has seen 5 minutes of one of these streams because I was like, hey, you should see this thing, and so I had her watch that, but she doesn't watch any of the other parts of it. My brother is sometimes in here. You guys don't know that because I haven't mentioned that he's my brother, but he's been in the chat before. Oh, hey, he's in here. So, okay, so, yep, that's my brother. That's Nate. So the answer to your question, Rubik's, one of my family members is here in the stream, so there you go. Well done, Nate. He counts as a family member. And in case you didn't guess, his name is Nate. So there you go. Yeah, that is a human that looks a little bit like me. He is technical and is learning programming, but is not a professional developer. No, we don't look that much alike, Horkrine. We just look mildly similar. We look like brothers, but we're not like clones. We don't look that much alike. Yeah, but you're also learning JavaScript. Yeah, Pyro. I could, for example, like invite him on the stream and actually teach coding. There you go, Horkrine. I think he was pointing out that I think that's the extent of what he knows, and if you count that, so he knows the markup languages, but not the programming languages yet. But yes. Hang on a second. Quote 4. Quote. There we go. See, quote 4. I got the right one. I feel so evil. So I've been evil before on the stream. I do some every once in a while. I do some terrible things in code. We all do. Acknowledging that they're terrible and willingness to fix them later is the important thing. Yeah. So. Yeah. See, look, he's even subbed. Yes, exactly, Horkrine, like pain-driven development, except that in this case it's more of a, hey, I put a thing and I shouldn't do this, let me undo this. Although I think that might have been I was showing off a cool thing that you could do that really was evil and no one should do. So I do that every once in a while also. Trying to think, Exactly, Horkrine. Just because you can doesn't mean you should, and that's why I pointed out to everybody that the thing I was doing was evil. There often is a time and a place to do something. Lord Farquaad, I love your name. I get the reference. I like it. At the same time... also true, Horkrine. Don't Professor Oak me here. Pyro, I don't know what you mean. I don't know what Professor Oaking you would mean. And yes, I did play the original Pokemon games. Actually, they're over there right now. I can see the Pokemon Blue cartridge. It is currently in a Game Boy. It's an old Game Boy Pocket. If I want to ride my bike inside of a building, I will. Alright, Pyro, I get what... Yes, it is a reference to that. I had not... I hadn't realized what you were saying, is that's what it was. Anyway, yes, that's a really good joke. I like it. Okay, so, I was hoping that someone that we follow would be live right now, but none of those channels are live, which is kind of disappointing. So, It's a real bummer. Anyway, I guess I will post a few things in the chat here. Don't forget to follow and other stuff like that. Discord. Don't forget our code's out on GitHub. All those sorts of things. Yeah, so I am going to take a look in the programming category and find a channel to host. I was hoping that someone that I follow would be live and I could pass everybody along. Let me take a quick look through the projects that are out here right now. Yeah, sure, we'll go there. Nice. Alright, everybody, we are going to host a channel and take off. So, I am going to play our outro clip just so I have it for my recording. But everybody, have a fantastic day. Thank you for spending your Saturday with me. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you had fun and enjoyed this, and we will see you next time. Take care, everybody. I will talk to a bunch of you in Discord later, and we're going to do some fun coding on Monday. So don't forget, Monday is our next stream, and if you need to know the schedule, you can check there, or you can check down below in the panels, and it will tell you when our next stream is going to be. I look forward to seeing everybody next time, and enjoy your weekend. Happy coding, everybody. Later.